Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
That snake looks delicious. What part do you think I'm about to eat?
If I had to call it anything, I would say it's his knee.
With the financial world serving up all these annuities, the question is, are they willing to eat their own cooking? Stay tuned to find out.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement. Your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist, 5-time author, and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Welcome, folks, to the WorryFree Retirement. I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today's subject is on annuities. And we're going to even take a deeper dive into this study of annuities, entitling this particular study, Annuities 301. You know, Anthony Bourdain, the well-known world traveler and connoisseur of exotic foods from around the world, who unfortunately passed away last year, was known for his ability to put his money where his mouth was. That is, whatever exotic food was being served up to old Anthony, he was willing to eat it, no matter how exotic, how crazy looking, or how weird some of this food might have been. It was his mission to try food that was being served up by others. Well, believe it or not, food and money have a lot in common. We all need food to live on, and we all need money to purchase our daily bread. Without either, we'll die or soon be living on the streets. Oh, speaking of food and those preparing a meal for us, I cannot help but think back fondly to the days of spending a lot of time at my grandparents' home down in Troy, Kentucky. My grandmother Hazel and I loved preparing food. She cooked a lot of home-cooked meals, and I enjoyed watching her make this food. I bet even Anthony Bourdain would have been mesmerized by the way she was able to cook up some great food from scratch. No recipes written down, only an uncanny ability to make delicious food seemingly out of nowhere. If only the financial world could keep it this simple and delicious, just like Hazel. So what does eating your own cooking have to do with your retirement? Well, when it comes to our subject matter, annuities, I, as an advisor who loves annuities and feels like they're perfect for savers, and I truly understand the proper use of these annuities, I'm willing to eat my own cooking. In fact, I've got here a collection of different annuities that I've purchased over the years for me and my wife, Susan. In fact, let's see, I've got 5 different annuities that I've purchased over the years. And these annuities, as we're going to see later on in the show, have different purposes. But the fact remains, even though I've sold a boatload of annuities over the years, over $350 million to my clients who have worked hard for their money, saved hard for their money, and don't want to run out of money, sadly, the financial world has no clue about how these annuities can properly help savers worry less about money. In fact, these financial cooks are serving up annuities a lot of times, and many of these advisors don't own annuities themselves. In other words, they're not willing to eat their own cooking. They'll tell you to buy annuities, but my question is, do they themselves invest their hard-earned money in them? And in most cases, I can't verify this, but my gut feeling is they don't. You see, here's the point. Whenever you're working with an advisor, they have to be willing to eat their own cookies. And when it comes to annuities, there's no more misunderstood product or service, game plans, how these annuities work, and this is why we're taking it to another level with Annuities 301. Now, just in case you missed our last 2 episodes on annuities, let me briefly summarize, first of all, the definition of an annuity. Let's take a look at this. So annuities are contracts, and they are issued by insurance companies. Remember, only insurance companies can underwrite and back the annuity. This is very important to keep in mind. Now, in turn for you, the annuitant, that's you down here, giving the insurance company something called a premium. It's really not an investment, it's a premium. What they're going to do, the insurance company, that no other entity can guarantee, the key word is guarantee, okay? They're going to guarantee to you that at some point you'll have income for the rest of your life. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How in the world can they guarantee this? And what is the difference between an income rider that a lot of these newer annuities offer versus the old pension plan annuity, what's called annuitization, like my granddad had? And that's what we're going to get in today. Very, very important stuff, because many of you have been talking, you tell me this, you've been talking to people who are selling annuities, or you've been to a dinner seminar and they're talking about earning 6, 7, 8, 10% on an annuity. Well, how can we do that, you're saying? Because if you watched last week's show, let's kind of roll some B-roll of last week's show, Aaron. This is where I talked about the idea that most insurance companies are only crediting about 3% to your account. So how can an insurance company making 3% for you turn around and tell you they're going to be paying out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%? Well, this is going to be some good stuff. So if you own an annuity, thinking about buying an annuity, even if you don't, even if you've got a pension plan, or maybe you one of those rare breeds out there that has an option for a pension plan. Incidentally, I just saw this in the news. This show has been recording on October 8th, 2019. General Electric, apparently they're going to start offering pension buyouts to those who are currently taking an installment or an annuity. So what does that mean to you? That's a big deal, because some of you now may want to take the installment away and take a lump sum buyout. We can help you figure out whether that's good for you or not. So annuities are here to stay. They're great products for savers. The question is, if you're going to use them for mailbox money, what's the difference between an income rider and annuitization? You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'm going to go over to the whiteboard. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
With 401k plans at all-time highs, why continue to risk your hard-earned money? There's a safer way to retire worry-free. Attend nationally recognized retirement specialist Tony Walker's next free workshop, Retirement 101, December 9th in Louisville, December 10th in E-Town, and December 12th in Bowling Green. These workshops are free, but seating is limited, so register today at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a buyout? Has the company you work for recently moved or been acquired or closed its doors forever? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k to safer territory. Why continue to risk your hard-earned money when you don't have to? Let's meet in person today to discuss your retirement options. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your no-obligation appointment to meet with me in person. Do it today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and in case you're just joining us, we are into Annuities 301. By the way, we have all of our former shows on our YouTube channel at youtube.com. You just type in Tony Walker Financial. 2 weeks ago, we covered Annuities 101. Last week, Annuities 201. This week, 301. And then next week, really good stuff, a really, really deep dive. We're going to have an advanced course on annuities, so you'll want to tune in for that. But basically, we're talking about annuities, and we have to focus, before we get into this deeper dive in just a second on the whiteboard, what are the real purposes of an annuity? And there's two main purposes. Number one, to protect principal. The insurance company backing this, just like they back your home, car, health insurance, etc., is in the business of protecting your money. That's number one. Number two, something we have, ta-da, mailbox money. That's right, guaranteeing an income you can never outlive. And I said guarantee, that's the second purpose. So what is really mailbox money, and what is the purpose of mailbox money and the two forms of mailbox money? Let's do this. Let's walk over to the whiteboard here. And what I've done, again, this is labeled two types of mailbox money. And as you'll notice here, the first type comes from these newer type annuities. We call them hybrid annuities, and it's called an income rider. The second type, which is the kind my granddad had through his pension, was called annuitization. So there's a whole lot of misconceptions out there about annuities, how much income you get, how do you derive the income, how's it calculated, what happens to this mailbox money when I die. So let's try to really slow it down. Incidentally, I love this. Our own Gina Tutwiler, the office manager here in Louisville, recently ran into someone at a function she was attending who knew Gina and said, hey, by the way, I watch that guy on TV, Tony Walker, does a great job. And one of the things they applauded us for was really trying to break things down so people could understand them. Folks, a fiduciary is first a teacher. if they're not teaching you something, if a retirement planning specialist is not trying to teach you something, my advice is get your wallet out of there and go get a second opinion. So this is all about trying to help savers understand their options, and then it allows you, hopefully if you have a better understanding, to make decisions. As we like to say, we sell sleep insurance here. Our purpose is to make sure you can go to bed at night and know that this mailbox money is guaranteed for life. All right, so what I'm going to do here, get my cheat notes out. We've got someone who purchases an annuity from us. Now this could have been a rollover from a 401k, an inherited IRA, money they had languishing in the bank, maybe even an inheritance. And in this example, this person is going to put in $84,000, just a round number. This was an actual case I worked on. Oh, incidentally, you say $84,000, that's not a whole lot of money. I didn't know you worked with accounts that size. Folks, we don't have any minimum account sizes here. If you have at least $5,000 or more, we'll talk to you. Ran into somebody the other day that they basically got to shoot out of an office because they only had about $84,000. Many advisors are not going to work with you unless you walk in with boatloads of money. Again, at Tony Walker Financial, we don't discriminate based on the amount of money you have. We're here to help you, and we're going to make sure that you're satisfied with our services. Okay, so they had $84,000. Remember, that was a premium. In this example, it was a rollover from 401k, which we handled. Now, the rider accumulation rate. Currently, and these are different for different companies, so don't hold me to this. These are changing all the time. In fact, we're going to get into next week. Heather Hughes, another fiduciary in our office, will be in the studios to describe how we go about searching for the best rates for our clients. But currently, we're assuming they pay 6% guaranteed. In this example, this is a 10-year deferral. Now, all that means is the 6% is guaranteed for 10 years as long as you're not taking income. Remember, this is an income rider. The only way this company can guarantee 6% is because this is going to be used to calculate your mailbox money. This is not a real number I'm showing you, folks, okay? Don't think this is what your beneficiaries will inherit. We're talking about how do they calculate your mailbox money. So this is a guaranteed amount. So at the end of 10 years, there would be right at $142,000 in the income account. And you say, well, Tony, I thought you said last week they can only pay 3% or whatever. How are they going to do that? Well, remember, this is an accounting figure. It's really not even a real number. Again, it's used to calculate your mailbox money. So in this example, guaranteed, if you started drawing mailbox money at the 10th year, this company would pay you and your spouse, it's a joint account, how they would pay this, $6,391 a year, or divided by 12 monthly. So this is all guaranteed. And you say, well, how much is going to be left at death? That depends on what's in the contract value. That's something we can get into and discuss in more details. But I just wanted to show you how an income rider works. Very flexible. You can start it at any time after the first year, or you can wait till after the 10th year. Again, you can start these at any time. In fact, we have some companies that are actually more competitive the earlier you start them. This is why we need to know exactly what you're thinking about with this particular annuity, and we can help you walk through that. All right. The second type is annuitization. This is what my granddad had through his pension. In fact, I found one of my clients was a prospective client, came in, and they're getting ready to make a decision on a lump sum pension. Some people still have these, and in fact, on this statement they brought me, it's got annuity written all over it. So again, folks, a pension, if you decide to take mailbox money, is really just an annuity. So they could take a lump sum and roll that over to us. I'll show you what we would do with that with our split IRA in just a second. I had a gentleman just the other day from a large corporation wants us to handle his pension. But before he made a decision, he wanted to go over the annuitization rates. So again, he could take the lump sum with no taxes or fees, roll that over to somebody like us, and we could put it in an IRA. Or, what are the options? All right, he could or she could take a life-only option. What that means is, if he decided to annuitize this pension, the pension company or the insurance company, we can do these annuitizations as well, for the rest of this person's life would pay $2,235 per month guaranteed. And you say, well, what happens at death on that thing? That seems like a pretty high monthly amount. That's the problem. If this person were to die the second day, it doesn't matter, no more payments will be paid and that entire amount is gone forever. So most people generally don't take a life only. Sometimes they do, but most times they don't. So you say, yeah, Tony, I want to leave something to somebody. What would be another option? Well, if you're willing to take a little less money, they could pay you $2,134 a month instead of this. But what they would do is they would pay it for the rest of your life. However, if you died in the first 10 years, it's called a period certain. So what they're saying is no matter what happens, let's go back to that example. You elect to take a single life with a 10-year certain. You start getting your mailbox money and you die the next day. What they're going to do is continue to pay $2,134 to whoever the beneficiary is. It could even be your kids for the remainder of that 10 years. So it could be a 10-year certain, 20-year certain. All of these things will affect how much money you draw. Now, this is what my granddad did. He did a 50% survivor. So these are the actual annuity payments. I'm taking this from this particular employer's pension. So you could say, well, you know, I've got a spouse who has a long life expectancy in the family, Tony. I don't want her to run out of money after 10 years if I die first. What if I die, but she lives or he lives another 40 years? Okay, we can do that. But notice it keeps getting reduced to you. So if you elected that option, they would pay you $2,061 a month. Let's stay with our example. You die 2 days later, what they're going to guarantee is your survivor would then get 1/2. See, that's 50% survivor. There's 66 2/3. There's all kinds of different survivor options, but would pay you 1/2. Now let's talk about my granddad. This is a tough decision to make. So my granddad, when he retired from Bell South in 1978, took his pension and elected the 50% survivor option. Now remember, all these options, when you make an election, they're irrevocable. You cannot change your mind, so you're stuck with that option. So what happened was, because Dad-All wanted to make sure Hazel got some money, he elected this option. There was a problem with that though. Hazel actually predeceased Dad-All, my granddad. So that means it stayed at $2,061, and we didn't have a crystal ball at that time, but if he had chosen the life only, see, he would have got more money. In return, he got less money because he basically guessed wrong. He thought it would be best to protect his wife. Now, what do we do with a lot of these? A lot of times we do a lot of life insurance built around this because it takes the guesswork out. So let's go back to this example. I wanted to show you something. So how do we at Tony Walker Financial figure out and get you through the maze of all this? This is what a trained retirement specialist with over 35 years, met with over 15,000 people, worked on over 4,000 game plans. Here's what we would do. So let's stay with this 423 and kind of walk back over to the monitor. So let's take a look at our graphic. We call this the worry-free split IRA concept. Now let's say this person, which they did do this, took that full lump sum pension and wanted us to handle it. So at no cost or obligation, no taxes, we took the 423 and we moved it into our split IRA concept. Now what we do, depending on the circumstances, so we won't divulge how much we put in this particular person's situation because it's all different, but we put a certain amount of money in our Charles Schwab platform, which gives us minimal fees, charge minimal fees on this with maximum flexibility. And then in this bucket over here, this would be your future mailbox money. We determined what type of annuity would be best to put in this bucket. So if you're sitting there saying, Tony, I don't have anybody doing this kind of planning. I didn't understand you could have all this flexibility with annuities. I didn't know you could parlay the Charles Schwab stuff that you're doing. How can I get started with you guys? Well, that's easy. All you got to do is go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. If you have money in the bank, if you have an inheritance, 401k, IRA, brokerage account, you feel like you want to get some diversification, this is for you. I'm happy to go over this with you. It's no cost or obligation to do this. Incidentally, great segment coming up because a lot of people say, well, how do I know, Tony, if the person I'm looking at an annuity with knows what the heck they're talking about? We have a brand new retirement planning specialist checklist. We're going to cover that in detail when I come back. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. Thanks for watching. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a buyout? Has a company you work for recently moved or been acquired or closed its doors forever? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k to safer territory. Why continue to risk your hard-earned money when you don't have to? Let's meet in person today to discuss your retirement options. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your no-obligation appointment to meet with me in person. Do it today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. And, we've talked a lot about annuities. In fact, next week I'm going to have our own Heather Hughes, who specializes in our office in researching which annuities are best. These annuities are constantly changing, folks. and the company's changed. So we'll have her on. Good stuff. That'll be our closeout of the show. But we're in Annuities 301. If you think this seems a little complicated, I'm intentionally trying to cover a lot of things that an advisor should know about annuities. So yes, they're complicated, but not if you understand the product, which we do. Now, what I had to do, because more and more people are offering retirement planning services. I mean, as my mom says, they're coming out of the woodwork, Tony. She gets all these invitations, hears them on the radio, TV, etc. And what I say is that's fine, but do they have the credentials? And is there any way for you to know, number one, are you going to get a written game plan when you meet with these folks? Number two, how long have they really been doing retirement planning? Okay. And then finally, how many annuities have they written? Earlier we talked about, do they even own any annuities themselves? I'll be happy to share with you my annuities, but more importantly, I wanted you to see something. I call this the Retirement Planning Specialist Checklist. Now, this is on the website at Tony Walker Financial. I think this is a cool idea. If you'll notice here, what we've got are the services offered and credentials of Tony Walker. So I've already pre-populated this, and we filled it in, and notice, look at that. Complete access to the owner. I own Tony Walker Financial. I'm a fiduciary. If you meet with us, you get to meet with me in person. Most people are not going to offer to do that. Or once they get your business, they're gone and you never see them again. Look at this, the number of appointments I've documented. Now again, there's a form, I'm going to show you this again, where you sign off on this, the advisor. I have seen in person over 15,000 people I've met with in person. Here's a key. I've overseen over 4,000 written game plans. Let's kind of scroll on down. Look at this. The amount of annuities premium that I've written, personally written to date since 9/11, over 350 million. And here's another key factor. We have 5 service experts on staff to every fiduciary. So what that means to you is, yeah, there's a lot of people that can sell annuities, but the firm behind the annuity, you're going to need service work with these. You're going to need changes to your game plan. Who in the world is going to service all these? Now, we can, Aaron, let's kind of go back out to a wide shot of this. If we can go back, I want to show you something. This is what's interesting. So as we look at this, look at this. I've signed this. You say, what do I do with this, Tony? Well, again, you get it on the downloads page of our site. I've signed this. If anybody's selling annuities, take this to them and ask them to fill it off and sign off on it under penalties of perjury. That means they're going to have to tell you the truth. If they're not willing to sign off on this or fill this out, my question is, do you really want to risk your retirement with somebody that really might not understand retirement planning and annuities? So to get this form or to find out more information about us, why don't you go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started. Oh, and by the way, in the download section, there's a great little booklet I wrote called The Annuity Decision Guide for Savers. Excellent tool so you can learn more about annuities. Well, we've been talking about food and eating our own cooking. Does the Bible have anything to say about food and clothing and being simplified and just enjoying life? It sure does. You hang in there with me. Let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
With 401k plans at all-time highs, why continue to risk your hard-earned money? There's a safer way to retire worry-free. Attend nationally recognized retirement specialist Tony Walker's next free workshop, Retirement 101, December 9th in Louisville, December 10th in E-Town, and December 12th in Bowling Green. These workshops are free, but seating is limited, so register today at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Worried about running out of money in retirement? For a limited time, 5-time author and retirement specialist Tony Walker is making available his latest book, Mailbox Money for Life. For your free copy, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
All of the things I need for happiness. Low plastic stool, check. Tiny little plastic table, check. Ooh, something delicious in a bowl, check.
Recently, Tony Walker Financial hosted our annual client appreciation event at the beautiful downtown Marriott in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, prior to us deciding on our menu for the night, the chef there invited myself and our own Gina Tutwiler, who was in charge of the event, to try out some dishes to be sure that what we were serving was to the liking of our clients' tastes. Now, after we got to taste a lot of exotic dishes prepared by the chef, all very good by the way, we commented that, you know what, our clients are kind of what you'd call your meat and potatoes folks, none of this exotic food stuff. The chef laughed and he quickly cooked up a great chicken dish which was superb and enjoyed by all. That was more than 600 people that sat down to a wonderful evening and again suited to their taste. Well, just like the chef at the Marriott who wanted to be sure we had the meal right, so too was Jesus, who simply wants us to worry less about money and life, to enjoy the simple pleasures of life and not make things so darn complicated. In fact, in Matthew 6:31, he says the following, "Don't worry." He says, "Therefore, do not worry saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear?" Because what Jesus knew is, folks, the world would make a mockery of this stuff. The world loves to make things complicated. Yes, they even like to make annuities complicated. Well, we don't. If you're looking for someone to simplify this for you, if you're looking for someone that you can meet in person, that understands retirement planning, that has personally produced over $350 million of annuities, folks, a firm that has a team of service professionals that's going to be there to service the annuity long after the sale, let's talk. You know, best of all, it's absolutely free to meet with us in person. Here's what you do. You just simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there, you're going to click on the Let's Get Started button. Now, here's how this works. That goes confidentially to our offices. Someone from Tony Walker Financial then contacts you by phone to understand what it is you're hoping we can help you with. We then set up either a phone call with myself and yourself, or if it warrants, I'm happy to meet with you at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Now here's the best part. At that meeting, we meet for about 30 minutes. All we're going to do is find out what it is you're hoping I can help you with. You bring in all of your personal documents. Again, we help you get all this organized. You bring in all of your personal documents so that I can use my 35 plus years of experience to provide you a free assessment. We will have a second appointment, again at no cost or obligation, where I'll provide you your free written game plan. And unlike most advisors who pressure you or won't give you all the information, we will. We'll let you take that game plan and think about it. Let's face it, folks, moving your money over to someone at retirement is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. You got to get this right. It's a one-shot deal, and if you don't get it right, you could be stuck with products that you don't want in the future. So let's do this right. Contact TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button to sign up and register for a free, no-obligation appointment with me personally to review your situation. Do it now. Do it today. Oh, by the way, one more thing. On our homepage, in the space bar there, if you want to type in blog, or if you want to go to our menu and watch many of our blogs, I have a lot of blog posts. Over the years, we've had so many questions about different topics. So if you go to the blog post, you'll see all kinds of different things that you can download and watch, or articles I've written to help you worry less about money. Thanks again for watching the program. Remember, next week, our final course in annuities. This is our advanced annuities course coming up next week. So you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.